Well, hello, sports fans. It's Athletics Chat number 36. This is Larry Eater in Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin. That's between Madison and Milwaukee. And we see the charming gentleman to my right, Stuart Ware. He is in Oxford, England, the intellectual capital of the world. I believe Oxford's been there since the 11th century. Is that correct, Stuart?
I certainly haven't been there that long, but I believe you're right.
Okay, good. That's hopeful. And yeah, I was a little concerned if you'd have told me you'd have been there that long, then we'd have really had to talk about some things more than athletics. Okay, so what we've got today is we've got a plethora of topics. Let's start with the men's triple jump.
Wow, yes.
So Mr. Fabrice Zongo Hughes Fabrice Zongo. Zongo Hughes. I'm trying to figure out which one. From Burkina Faso. He was the bronze medalist in 2019, and I'll be posting the medal conference from him back then because Will Clay and Christian Taylor said nice things about him. On his sixth jump at the meeting Abier on Saturday, he went 18:07, and that broke his coach Teddy Tomgo's world record from 2011 by 15 centimeters. Pretty impressive. First guy over 18 meters indoors. So what do you think?
Well, it's interesting. If we go back a couple of years ago, Christian Taylor just looked unbeatable.
Yeah.
But then Christian didn't have his best year. And suddenly you look at also the competition from Ricardo. Will Clay able to do 18:14 in 2019. Suddenly here's another 18-meter jumper. And given that he's the first ever to do an 18-meter jump indoors, you could actually argue that probably outdoor it might be worth a bit more. So absolutely fascinating. Setting up the triple jump for this year, and we'll have to have our usual discussion about whether the Olympics are going to happen. But if they are, that could be a phenomenal competition. I'd love to see Christian Taylor not being in the lead at the end of the first round and being under a little bit of pressure, and just to see him come. I rather suspect he'll come through and win it. But to be getting real competition from Trango, even Will Clay, Ricardo, and so on. I mean, it just potentially phenomenal. Dare we say it? Is Jonathan Edwards 18:29 perhaps in more danger than it's ever been?
I think that is a very thoughtful hypothesis, Stuart. The Fabrice is a amazing physical specimen. Teddy Tomgo has been coaching him for a while. Teddy thinks very highly of him. I was just reading something in one of the French magazines, a little bit that I could translate. But I think that Zongo's got the wheels, and he's got the youth and the speed. I mean, I watched that video several times of his jump. And he had good jumps. I mean, he had 3 other jumps that were fair. He had a couple falls, but they were all in the 1730s or above, And so the guy's got it. Christian needs competition, and he's told us that a gazillion times. And that's why when him and Will Clay go at it the U.S. champs or at the Prefontaine, my gosh. And then you remember when we were watching Christian in, I think it was Lausanne with Pichardo back in 2015, 16 maybe? And that was just awesome. So to see some competitors in an event that doesn't get the respect it needs, the thing is all school kids around the world know it as the hop, skip, and jump. They've done it, And I looked up an article from 1996 by Kenny Moore talking about Jonathan Edwards. And Seb Coe is quoted saying, "The triple jump is the most rigorous event for the human body in the entire athletic lexicon." And when you think about it, the pressure and what I mean. I remember watching Philip Saduro when he would jump, and he made sounds between each. I mean, it was fascinating to watch him. But you could just see the physicality and everything going into it. And my thing was, my God, you get one part down. How do you get three parts down? You know. So, congratulations to Fabrice in Burkina Faso. It's their first world record held by a countryman, and it's also the first time a African male has set a jump world record indoors or out. We got that from our friend John, Statman John. And John Mulkeen. And who put up a very funny Twitter video this week, I might add. He put up a little note and he said, people said, you're a father of three. And he showed his kids just totally, you know, blasting them. And it just cracked me up so bad. It was a good one.
But also, after such a difficult year, and a year which also started a little bit difficult, wasn't it great to see our sport having a really good headline to talk about? You know, someone going out and breaking a world record. Oh
yeah, no, I think it was fun. It's nice too to recognize some of the meets in France because there's a whole series of indoor meetings in France that are totally underrated, and it's one of the things I just want to do one winter when there's not a pandemic is go travel around within a couple hours of Paris and hit one meet after another for a few weeks, which would be kind of rough. Then I could have some camembert too, you know. So but I've digressed. So the AIU stats on bans. Let's talk.
Yeah, I mean this is interesting to see that in since April 2017, 16 Olympic and world medalists have served the doping ban.
Wow.
And another 130 athletes, including Diamond League winners, have also had a ban, a total of 196. And of course, it's some big stars like Kristen Coleman, Wilson Kipsang, Ruth Zivett.
Yeah.
And I was fascinated to read that World Athletics spends £6 million, which is what, about $9 million a year, on the integrity unit, 12% of its budget. There was a great line in an article by Sean Ingle.
Okay.
He commented on the fact that quite a number of the bans were for missed tests as opposed to positive tests. And his comment was, I know that that's the equivalent of getting Al Capone for a tax irregularity.
Yes. That's true. That's true.
But that is the one thing that I am a little uneasy about. I mean, it's interesting. I don't want to name the athlete because nothing has been proven, but someone who has recently been suspended, there was all sorts of stuff on social media about the fact that this athlete had previously missed tests, which proves that she's doping. And, you know, I think that if an athlete misses 3 tests, they're inefficient. They haven't got their life as organized as they should. But it doesn't actually tell you anything about whether or not there's any guilt. And the other thing, and again, I won't name names so that no one's lawyers get in touch with us. But if you ask people around the circuit, there are certain athletes who are competing and winning medals that people are very suspicious of. And somehow athletes like that seem to get away with it if they're doing something, whereas people who are just a little bit stupid and forget, you know, somebody who goes somewhere and forgets to change their whereabouts. So that's the only thing I feel uneasy about this. And, people say that this proves that our sport's dirty. It may just prove that we're taking it more seriously than a lot of other sports, which don't do anything like the amount of testing.
Here's the way that I would approach it. I think we on the average do about 5 times the testing that many of the other sports do. I recall seeing badminton do a few hundred tests when we were doing 18,000 one year. But the thing that we need to know about last year is that there were a tiny amount of tests, like 1/5, 1/6, 1/7 of the regular test. So they were going to focus on something. What it tells me is that there's probably more misses there's probably more misses of testing than we have any idea of. That many people do not have their lives as organized as they would. That a doper, someone who's made the decision to actively cheat, knowing business-wise that the chance of being caught is very tiny, isn't going to get caught on missing a being home at 6 and 7 a.m. That's just not, for the most part, going to happen. Most of the people that do those and do 2 or 3 or 4 are terribly unorganized. Their group is unorganized, or they're just plain knuckleheads. In terms of the doping, my issues have been that it still seems to me that AIU and some of the other groups do so much for political viewing, like the whole thing a few months ago where they said, well, we're going to have to check the coronaviruses to see if there's anything in them that's bad. Yeah. Now, I remember the whole thing about birth control back in the 70s, and they claimed that Germans were using birth control and getting some benefit from it. The federations have no one to blame but themselves. The global federations didn't get it in the 70s or the 60s, and they've tried to get control. I think in athletics, we're doing a pretty good job. There are still some things, like you said. There are athletes that we see out there that the athletes talk about, the coaches talk about, that there are questions. I recall the 2012 London Olympics after the women's 1500, when the Turkish athletes won. I sent a note to someone in authority and said, bullshit, are they being tested? And the note came back, we've been watching them for months. And I said, well, how the shit did you let them compete in a final? Because my issue is that these cheaters get themselves to a place where they can compete in a final, and they take, what was it in the women's 1500? 5 of the top 6 have been banned. So what the hell does that tell you? And so that the kids there that did well, someone in 9th place could have been a medalist because there were 5 or 6 cheaters in front of them, Stuart.
Yeah, but there's more to it than that, because there are also people who didn't qualify for the final.
Yes.
Because of drug cheats. At worst, those athletes lose their chance of running in an Olympic final.
Yeah.
And we know that if you're in the final, you can win it, no matter what the statistics are. So, I can think of, like Hannah England, who was in that semi-final. I mean, she was struggling with injury. She got spiked earlier in the year, and it just took an awful long time for the infection to clear up, so she hadn't done all her training. But equally, she would have made the final if there hadn't been drug cheats taking the places. So, it's just something like that. That home Olympics, chance to run in your home Olympics in the final. So, I think there's that element, as well as the fact of people actually getting the medals. And we said several times that even if you get your medal later, it's not the same. No. And, I keep talking about Jenny Meadows, who reckons that she lost $150,000 in bonuses and sponsorship because she didn't win the medals at the time. and therefore couldn't collect from her sponsors.
No, well, that was the only final that Jenny Simpson did make in all of the world champs and Olympics that she had competed in.
Yeah.
And I always found that a bit suspect. And so, it's just, we've seen it before. And I mean, that's part of the thing about, it's interesting that some of the most, that events that we always used to think were wrapped with cheaters, a lot of the throws are some now of the events where you're seeing athletes from countries that we didn't ever expect to win medaling, and I think that's good, and that they're catching them. So, I mean, the AIU I think has done a lot of good things. There's things that I get frustrated about this last year. I'm very concerned what's going to happen this year. I hope the testing gets a little more back to normal. And yes, they're catching people. And as we've said before, when you catch somebody, it means in this sport we're doing our job. But they've got to be able to go through the legal process too. So we will have to see on that one, my friend. And so our next one is a guy who makes us always smile in French and English, Renaud Villeneuve. He had woke a few people up earlier in the week when he put up a little thing from Puma saying that he had left his longtime sponsor Nike and moved to Puma. We're going to interview Pascal Rawling, the head of global athletics for Puma, later this week. But so what does Renaud do? First competition of the year, 592. And for a few minutes, he is the world leader, still the European leader, but this kid in the U.S., Casey Lightfoot, who's kind of a Mondo type, went 594 after that. But Renaud Villeneuve, we worship you. So what do you have to say, Stuart?
I mean, not only did he do a 590 plus jump, but it's 12 years since he first jumped 590.
Yeah.
I mean, what about that for longevity?
That's impressive.
And also, he's had horrendous injuries, and we wondered really whether we'd ever see the best of him again.
Yeah.
But, there are probably 5 athletes I can think of who can stop a stadium. Like Mondo at the moment. Bolt could always do it.
Yeah.
But Villeneuve always could. Because he was just, as well as being a great vaulter, he was a showman.
Yes.
And when he was about to take an important jump, the arena stopped. They didn't have any distractions like these silly track racers.
Yeah.
This was all about him. He was going to be center stage, and he would be telling the crowd in all directions what he wanted from them. And then he would go out and perform. And, he had the Gallic temperament as well, that he could have a little bit of a sulk.
Yes.
I mean, I remember him at the European, where he cleared the bar, but hit it, and it dislodged itself, but it didn't fall down. But an eagle-eyed official noticed that it was actually not in position, and he didn't react very kindly to that. But in a way, you just think that just shows how much it matters to him, and it's the temperament that makes him. And the other thing, which again I know you'll agree with, he's always such an engaging interviewee.
Yes.
I mean, I remember waiting for him at Monaco when he'd spoken to everybody and their dog, and yet he spoke to me as if I was the only person on the planet.
Yeah. No. Renaud is a lot of fun. I think the best thing that ever happened to him is when Sam and Mondo and Piotr came along. It loosened him up a little bit. I think he's jumping better. Mondo worships him and competes with him like a big brother. And Sam and Renaud, and I'll tell you, one of my favorite interviews, you get Sam, you get Renaud, you get Mondo, you throw Piotr in, man, you've got, we could go a couple hours because they're a stand-up comedy group too, you know? They make jokes and watching them compete, going from jump to jump, it's like the hardest thing about going to Lausanne, I remember, was it 16? It was 15 or 16. Lausanne-Skana was on one side. It was 15. Lausanne-Skana was on one side of the stadium going 2:06, and we're trying to watch the guys jump too. And I'm just going back and forth, and I'm just going, I can't miss anything because I'd missed Christian Taylor's big triple jump the first time he went over 18, and I had to tell him I missed it, and I was so disappointed, you know. And so it was just, they're fantastic. No, it's just so great to see Renaud. He's a good man, and that he gets a few more years in the sport. You know, love to see him go to at least 2024. You know, so we'll keep our fingers crossed.
Paris, he would love to be there. And of course, on the 6th of February, he's in Rouen, in northern France. Not much competition for him that night. Only some chap, Sam Kendricks.
Oh, okay.
Mondo Duplantis. They're not much good, are they?
No. I heard Mondo has some promise, but you know, we'll have to. Yeah. He's half Swedish though, so you know, you just don't know. I mean, they don't have too many good athletes, right?
And in the same meet, we have got Stefanidi, Sandy Morris, and Holly Bradshaw.
Wow.
So if you like the pole vault, that's not a bad place to be. Except, of course, if I were to go, I would have to quarantine for 2 weeks when I come back. So sadly, I won't be going.
Yeah, I'm very disappointed because I'd love to go out and hang out in Europe right now, but I can't even get out of the country. You know, I don't think I can get to Boston right now. I'm trying to figure out how to do that for the New Balance indoors, so we'll have to keep our fingers crossed on that. So let's see.
Well, just on that, I had a little bit of good news last week.
Okay.
A nice lady stuck something in my arm.
Oh, good for you. So do you get the one shot or the two shots?
Two.
Two? Okay.
The other one is likely to be in about 3 months.
Okay.
Because the government is taking the view that they want to get everyone one. But I'm hoping that will mean that come Easter I'll be able to travel again.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I believe I get my first shot sometime in March, but we'll keep our fingers crossed and hopefully we can move.
I wasn't expecting mine until February, but I think what happens is that because one of them, it has to be kept at such a low temperature. Once it comes out, it has to be used quickly. And I think they just had some left over.
Okay. Well, good for you. That's so then I'll have to send a note to Boris Johnson and say, please, for us, take care of Stuart for us so we can start traveling. You know?
Yeah.
So, are you going to go to do you want to do the Diamond League this year, or what are you thinking?
Yeah. I mean, I have penciled in, if everything goes according to plan, that the Doha Diamond League would be my first event. That's late May.
That's the one I hope to be at too. So,
and then
we'll keep our fingers crossed.
Diamond Leagues, and then I should ask you this week: will I be going to the Olympics?
I sure hope so. That one, my friend, I think that I can't tell right now. I think it's back down to 50-50. About 80% of the Japanese are saying they want the Olympics postponed. I think they're having some problems over there. There was something about the U.S. had a story yesterday that hasn't been confirmed that they found COVID in Chinese ice cream. And so you don't know what's true anymore. I really think that the head of the CDC is retiring, and he was on National Public Radio last week. And he said that we will be dealing with viruses like this for the rest of our time, and asked why. And it's because of the speed with which we can travel around the world. And there will be vaccines that we hope will work, but we're going to have some challenges. And I think it's very hard for people, especially who don't have a science background or never listened to their science teachers, to comprehend. So they have to say it's somehow politically motivated. The Tokyo Olympic organizers have spent close to $20 billion US, and could be more. It's what they admit to. And if they don't hold the Olympics, they will lose that. So what will happen? What will they do? Make them do it in 2032? Don't know. I can't figure it out. I don't think if they don't do it this year, do they do it in 2022 and then move everything else back? I think it just goes away.
Do that, and
I hope you're able to go. My thing is going to be again, health stuff, and that I get both shots, and that also, if I feel that it's worth the risk, and that's going to be this would have been Summer Olympics number 10, and I really wanted to hit that one. I mean, James Dunaway, our longtime editor, did 15, and I know that the guy who did all the Olympic movies, I believe he was at 17, but he also had Winter Olympics too, and Bud Greenspan, and so it was got to interview him a couple times, which is fun. So what's our next? Let's see what our next topic is.
I discovered something this week which I thought was really fascinating. I read it in the new AW magazine.
Lovely cover.
Yeah, but it was an article about the UK Athletes Commission, from which Hannah England is standing down as chair.
Okay.
She was the founder chair in 2017, but now that she's retired, she's an athlete. But it's an impressive group who are involved. Holly Bradshaw, Ashley Bryant, Nathan Douglas, who's been competing forever, Adam Jamili, Naomi Ogbita, Steph Twell, and several para-athletes as well. But what fascinated me about this, we have in Britain, when there's a major championship, we have the first two in the trials automatically, and then a third one at the discretion of the selectors. And the Athletes Commission is invited to send observers to be present at the selection meeting.
Wow.
Which I thought was really pretty good.
Yeah.
Hannah England, commenting on this, said, we've been invited to selection meetings as observers, almost to hold them to account. I just thought that was pretty good transparency. To have athletes in listening to the discussion. The kind of discussion we're talking about was last year, do we take Charlie Grice to the World Championship 2019, who has been the fastest British 1500-meter runner that year, but who didn't finish in the top two in the trials, so therefore didn't get an automatic place? Or do we take Jake Whiteman, who also didn't get one of the two automatic places? And it's that kind of really difficult. You might say, well, Whiteman has a better medal record, the better championship record, but equally Grice has run faster than him. Just that kind of discussion, I think, for athlete representatives to be listening to it can only be good for understanding of the sport, and also, for athletes perhaps to contribute their views on what criteria should be used.
Yeah.
So well done, British Athletics.
Yeah, no, I think that they've done a nice job with that one. I think that in an upcoming chat, we'll have to talk about this growing concern by a group of women stars in the UK about the equality in the cross-country distances. I haven't had time to catch up on it, but on my Athletics Weekly tweet this morning. I get those little morning tweets, and I love those. So sign up for them if you get a chance. But they talked about how Paula and Sonia and Mara Yamachi and several top athletes, Laura Muir, were all concerned about, hey, what's really going on? And I think that's a discussion that I hadn't even thought of. I think it deserves to be considered. And
one of their comments was equality is not always equality.
Wow. That'll be interesting to kind of try to decipher.
Let's talk about that sometime. Yeah.
How are the British Indoor Championships looking for you guys?
Well, as of now, they're still going ahead. The tricky thing is that we are in this month's lockdown, after which there are rumors that more strict measures may come in. And as things stand, the event can go ahead with no spectators. And it's viable with no spectators because they have secured funding to hold it. But and this is possible but probably not likely, a decision was made that for a month there would be no professional sport. And that happened last year. Where the government closed down all professional sport for a period. Then it wouldn't happen, which would leave a massive headache if the European indoors is going to go ahead as to how you select. But at the moment, it is planned to go ahead, and it will go ahead unless the government decides. And of course, it's slightly complicated because it will effectively not the British government, but the Scottish government, because it's we have devolved powers on things like that. But for the moment, I think it will go ahead, but it will be very much in an empty arena with just the athletes, a few media. So it will be streamed, but not on national television. It will be streamed on the British Athletics website, as I understand it.
No BBC, huh?
Yeah, no TV coverage.
Wow. What do you think the chances are of the European indoors?
Well, Poland seem really adamant that it's going to go ahead. Britain has just introduced this, all people coming in from another country have to quarantine. And if that were to happen for Poland or within European countries, then that becomes complicated. But as I understand it, unless there's an exemption for athletes, this would mean that anyone who competes there may have to quarantine when they come back.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know whether you've seen any of the TV coverage that of the Australian Open tennis, which starts in 2 weeks' time, and one of the flights bringing athletes in, because they have chartered flights to bring all the tennis players in, and one of them had a positive COVID test. So now anyone who is on that plane has been told they have to stay in their hotel room. And there's been these hilarious pictures on social media and on TV of tennis players hitting a ball against the wall of their bedroom. Because that's the only practice they're able to do. And they showed another one, actually, who ran 5K just from one end of the bedroom to the other and back forward, back forward. So, that can happen. And, a lot of people are saying if I'd known that was possible, I wouldn't have played in the tournament because I don't want to take a full month quarantining and getting there. And of course, depending where you're from, you could finish up having to quarantine when you go back home as well. So I think that there's all this kind of uncertainty. I mean, I could see people saying, "Look, I wanted to do it, but it's just too big a risk because I don't want to get stuck in Poland, and I don't want to have to quarantine back home."
Yeah.
But sometimes they do exemptions for elite athletes. But if you think about it, there's no logic to that because they're just as likely to carry the virus as anyone else.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is, by the time I next speak to you, 100,000 people will have died of COVID in Britain.
That's scary as can be, and it's we're seeing so many similar things in the U.S. right now, and I think that when President Biden comes in, I think that we're going to look at it honestly, and I think we're going to shut down for a few weeks, but we'll have to see. But we just have got to stay careful and be able to talk about track and field. And Stuart, you've survived week 36, Athletics Chat 36, my friend. Stay safe. Think about golf. Maybe you can play a little golf against the wall if your wife allows you.
Yeah, against the wall, because that would close down for golf as well.
Wow. Can there be anything, the misery of it all? But this was a fun 38 and a half minutes, Stuart. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Stay safe, my friend. This is Larry Eater with RunBlogRun and Stuart Weir. Stuart's in Oxford. I'm in Port Atkinson, Wisconsin. And this is Athletics Chat number 36. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you like RunBlogRun, please like us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. If you love us, subscribe on the YouTube. And you know what? We'll throw in a little something. Our friends at Athletics Weekly are doing a lovely magazine. Subscribe to them. And in the colonies, you can subscribe to Track and Field News. What a beautiful magazine. I'm going to get my print subscription this week. And I will, because Stuart writes in there too. Our dear friend Stuart writes in Athletics Weekly and in RunBlogRun. 150,000 plus words last year, man. I'm telling you, that's a lot, my friend. Have a great evening. Stuart, thank you. Well, hello, sports fans. It's the epilogue, your favorite time of the day. Athletics Chat number 36. It's a Larry monologue where I just blast things for 5 minutes. I'm not on any controlled substances, and well, at least that I know of. And today, Stuart, who is in Oxford, England, Stuart Weir, Oxford, England, he writes for Athletics Weekly, and he writes for RunBlogRun. Last year, he did 150,000 words for both of us. And, we love him. But I didn't get to see him for the second year in a row at an event. Actually, I think I saw him in 2019 in Doha. Yeah, so it's only been 2020. I didn't get to see him. Anywho's, so our topics for today. First, let's talk about the triple jump over the weekend, January 16th, the meeting Abier. Fabrice Hughes Zongo from Burkina Faso, first man from Burkina Faso and first African athlete to set a world record indoor out in a jump. On his sixth jump in the triple jump, what we commonly called in my old days the hop, skip, and jump, he went 18.07 meters. Huge. And he's the first man over 18 meters indoors. He broke his coach, Teddy Tomgo, the European champion, the 2013 Moscow champion, indoor record of 1792 from Paris near Bercy in 2011, which I got to witness. It was pretty cool. Some killer pictures of Teddy going crazy back then. Just go on RunBlogRun, you'll find him. Anywho's, Fabrice is a very talented athlete. We met him when he took the bronze medal in the triple jump in Doha, where Will Clay and Christian Taylor paid compliments to him at the medal conference, which we will post again. Adam Johnson-Eater, my son and partner, was involved with, or he filmed all those because he films all the medal ceremonies, and me asking, dorky questions. And so we've got that. We'll put that up because I think you guys will get a kick out of it. Anyway, what Stuart said was that, for a long time we thought Christian Taylor was at the top of the heap, and he is. But Christian's now got Pedro Pichardo, Will Clay, and Fabrice Hughes Zongo. the beauty is, and what Stuart hopes, is that in a upcoming World Championships or Olympics, after the first round, Christian Taylor's not in the lead. He'll have to compete. And Christian Taylor loves to compete. And yes, I think we can see possibly in the next few years the world records that I witnessed in 1995 in Gothenburg by Jonathan Edwards will be broken. But we shall see. There's several people out there who could do it. Our second topic for the day was athletes' integrity unit stats on bans. They're very proud of this. 16 Olympic medalists have been banned. 130 Diamond League winners and medalists have been banned. So that's 196 folks have been banned. And most of them got nailed on missing their morning whereabouts. And the truth is last year, the majority of regular drug tests did not happen because of the pandemic. So what did AIU focus on? AIU focused on whereabouts testing. This is what whereabouts testing tells me most of the time, that people are not really organized. If you are a drug cheater, that means that you have taken the time and you have rationalized that you're not going to get caught, so it's a business decision, that you're going to cheat like shit to do this. So why the hell would you miss a whereabouts test? That's not what a prolific drug cheater would do. We're catching people who are doing dumb stuff. We're not catching people who are really cheating, even though the common human being says, well, man, if you miss 3 whereabouts tests, you've got to be hiding something. Bullshit. You're just unorganized and a little dumb. And if your management can't figure that stuff out, after you miss one test, your management, who's making a lot of money off you, should just be telling you to sit on your ass every day for 1 hour, keep it simple, get it done. What's the problem? But people don't. And so you got guys like Christian Coleman who get nailed for this long. It befuddles me. But AIU patting themselves on the back for that kind of stuff, really good job. But focus on the prize. The thing is that there are people that we know, that athletes see, that coaches see, that have a suggestion of cheating the system. Some people don't know how. They're spending a lot of money to do it. AIU is catching some of them, but they're not catching all of them. We hope they catch more. I will leave it at that. Okay? So, what was our next topic? Oh, LaVilleneuve. This makes me smile. Renaud LaVilleneuve, 12 years after his first time over, 590? He's doing it again, man. 592, Saturday. European leader now, was world leader for a couple hours until Casey Lightfoot went a 594. But Renaud kicks butt. Former world record holder in the world indoor record for the pole vault. He did it in Donetsk. He broke, first guy to broke Sergei Bubka's immortal 614. He went 616? And he's going 605 outdoors. Renaud's a good guy, and he's a great competitor, and he is an amazing entertainer, and the crowds love him. And as Stuart said, there's a few people who can stop the crowd. Usain Bolt used to be able to do it. Renaud LaVilleneuve can get a crowd into it. He's French. He's a pole vaulter. He's ultimate competitor, and we just love the guy. And he does great interviews. He has a great sense of humor. And I got to say, him, Sam Kendricks, Mondo Duplantis, and throw in Piotr Lysick, and you have got a group that you could interview for a couple hours. They're like a stand-up comedy show. So congratulations, Renaud. Great to see you back, and smart move on your new sponsor, Puma. UK Commission. They're allowing athletes from the Athletes Commission to observe the decisions about picking the third person to go to like a World Championships or an Olympic team. So the selection process, which is fascinating, that was always kind of clouded in mystery. And so they've taken some of they've demystified the selection process, which is really, really good. We also asked about the Olympics. We think it's about 50-50 right now. Torun, I think about 70-30. British Championships, probably 70-30. But we just don't know. We don't know where COVID's going to go. So I'm just telling people, please wash your hands, wear a mask, don't be stupid. It's nothing to do with your political rights or any of that kind of stuff if you wear a mask. Yes, you have the right to be stupid, but you can be stupid and then die, or you get someone else sick and let them die. That's not a good thing. So please be careful. Just watch old track stuff, okay? And, watch athletic chats and socialing the distance. This is Larry Eder with RunBlogRun. If you like RunBlogRun, sign up at Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Get us some bigger numbers so people pay us more bucks. And then if you really love us, subscribe on the YouTube and watch the 393 videos we did last year, or 63, or it's just under 400 videos we did last year. Okay, Larry Eder signing off. Thanks to Mike Deering for putting up with me today. We've got another session in a little bit. Talk to you soon. Bye.